exactly.
All right, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being here. So I have a lot to tell you today, but it's kind of a summary for me because I want to explain to you in some ways my entire ascension process and the ascension process I've been trying to lead you into. I tried to explain it this morning in the council class. I didn't have an ample opportunity to do it because I was reduced because of the time it took for me to open up the Zoom app. But anyway, I want to go over this. So my entire life, I've been feeling like I'm trying to remember something, okay? As Plato said, knowledge is remembering. And I've been trying to remember how to reconnect back to God, how to get back to my former state. And drip by drip, these protocol, these exercise, these blessings have been showing up for me, showing me a way forward. I have guided you, many of you that have been with me for many years, to many of these protocols, and you have done them with discipline over the years to help you in your ascension process. But many times I've had students who have asked me, which one is the one I should do right now? Should I do all of them? Because many times the exercise may sound similar, but they are not the same. Other times they're different from each other. Should I do all of them all at once? If you were to do all of them at once, you would have, that would be your full-time job. And the best way for me to describe the various spiritual techniques and mechanic, including Dantian, including all these various things that we have done over the years, is to say in music, if you're a vocalist, a singer, there are vocal exercises. And the vocal exercises help you warm up your voice and help you become familiar with the range of your voice. That way, when you sing a song, you can sing it with ease and mastery. There are some exercises that work in your lower register. There are some exercises that work in your upper register. There are other exercises that work in your chest voice, your head voice. So depending on what it is, you can compare, although it's not exactly a perfect translation, the energetic exercise and protocol I've been giving you to that. I want to also say to you that the best way to describe the ascension process, or where consciousness exists, and I'm not talking about the physical body, but consciousness exists, is to say that we are inside this energetic bubble, this gigantic energetic field. Call it the aura, call it the antakarana, call it whatever you want to call it. Carlos Castaneda, in his teaching with Don Juan, used to call this the assembly point or the assemblage point. And they saw it as a sphere of light that was between the shoulder blade. It's what we will call the upper heart, okay? But it projects a field almost holographically 360 degrees all the way around us. And a lot of the exercises and protocol that I have been giving you are connected to this field. Those of you who have done the ascension mechanic of neutrality that I've been teaching, you know this very well. We started out by doing the monadic merger. And what I had you imagine is that you were sitting in a chair and that you were sitting on a clock where 12 o'clock was in front of you, 6 o'clock was behind you, 3 o'clock was to the right, and 9 o'clock to your left, and all the other hands were in between. And every direction, whether it's 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and so on, there exists a fragment of yourself that you have to somehow bring back to you to put Humpty Dumpty back together again, to bring your consciousness into cohesive and unified action. Once that was done, and we did this, I don't know, several years, once that was done, there was an upgrade to that, but this time it was the Antara Sutra. And in that protocol, oh, by the way, I use the term a clock because this is what we can relate to in the West. It's not a clock. It actually is a mandala. In Buddhism and Hinduism, it's called a mandala. It's a simple, a circle with all of the geometric pattern, that whole sacred geometry that is the actual DNA of God, of all the different aspects of God. So we're sitting on a mandala and we're in the center of it, which represent, if you can think of it for a moment, that energetic bubble that consciousness exists in. Then I went ahead and I had channeled drip by drip again, the Antara Sutra, where, let's say at 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and so on and so forth, it was no longer all fragments that we were trying to reach, but at each of these positions, there exists a Buddha and his consort and a Dakini. And the Dakini in Buddhism, they are angels. They are female aspect of divinity, but they're female, you would call them female angels, the Dakini. So the idea was to connect to these, not only to aspect of yourself first, now transcend that and ask the Buddhas and the Dakinis that exist beyond. If you can think about vocal exercise, it's like once you're comfortable in the range that your voice is, the voice teacher gives you an exercise that will stretch it further, right? That will tell you, okay, now if you breathe this way, if you hold your breath and position the voice in the right way, in your mouth, you can go further. So now you're reaching for the Buddhas and the Dakinis. Then the last protocol I had given you, as it relates to that Ascension process, was an exercise called the Grand Cross Marriage. And in this instance, you were not only connecting to the horizontal plane, because so far what I'm describing to you happened in a horizontal plane. Whether the horizontal plane is on the floor, or at your shoulder level, or at your waist level, or at your head level, is still a horizontal plane. Now, the Grand Cross is you work on the vertical plane as well, the realm of the chakras. First chakra, second chakra, third chakra, and then you go down all the way down, not only to the first chakra, to the sacral chakra, but you also go into the ground. And then you work on the horizontal plane simultaneously, so one after the other, and you crisscross them. So you create an X and Y axis for your consciousness to go. And the reason for this, the reason for all of this, it's that the real power in the control of where your consciousness go is when you're in meditation, you close your eyes, is where you focus your eyes. If you're looking up, if you're looking forward at 6 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, every location in that bubble has a different effect. You're connecting with different part and aspect of your own already ascended consciousness, already enlightened consciousness. I am not the only one. I'm not inventing anything new. If you go into the inner teaching of Buddhism, it's similar. Of Hinduism, it's similar. They teach mechanics that are very, very, very similar. Where eyes closed, if you go inner teaching of Buddhism, it's the same. Eyes closed, you start looking in different direction. And as you do this, it activates different part of your brain. Those of you who've done the monadic merger and all this exercise, you know, as you're doing this, and you're focusing, all kind of electrical stuff start moving in your energy field, in your brain, all kind of things begin to twitch because you're rewiring your brain and your consciousness and you're downloading different information. Given the journey I have personally been on, and the fact that I somehow, because of the trauma I had experienced when my father attempted to kill my mom when I was 4 years old. I've shared this in other classes. I'm just quickly going over this. I won't go into the details now. I somehow, as a child, disconnected myself to my desire to receive. I've done multiple classes about this. And what happened when I did this, I tried to amputate, it's like I tried to cut one of my legs out, because the balance in all of us between the desire to receive and the desire to give, and the reflection that exists between the two, is the original duality. It's a primordial duality. And the fact that I did this thinking, for one thing, by giving and giving and giving, I would be in control, because my dad, whom I was receiving from, was so abusive. I didn't want to have anything to do with anybody giving anything to me. I just cut off the artery in the vein altogether. I blocked it, and because of the trauma and because of survival. And but in the process, I ended up blocking receiving the ability to receive anything from anyone. I blocked it. Now I have to say here that this is my journey and my experience. If this resonates with you and you begin to explore yourself, you may have done things that are slightly different. Because I've met a lot of people in my years of teaching that were part of the light community, who, instead of just blocking the channel for receiving, became victims. And they became just extremely emotionally and needy, where they're constantly asking everyone for help all the time. And they're always in crisis. They are not connecting with the ability to receive correctly. Now they are connecting to the little brat that created the bread of shame. So they are at an earlier stage, they are not blocking it out. They're in fact becoming the reverse. They become like a bottomless pit that will swallow everything, because they're always in need. Something is always wrong. So you need to gauge for yourself where you stand in that spectrum, whether you block it out altogether or you're becoming this bottomless pit. You could be somewhere in the range. And so you need to figure out where you stand in order for you to, because, okay, the worst kind of lies are the one that we tell ourselves. You don't have to tell me, but between you and your soul and God, you need to admit the truth, because that's where the healing is going to begin. And when you do this, you will begin to realize, okay, this is where I stand. So now I need to ask God for me to do this differently, right? So here I am now, I'm acknowledging this, by the guidance of Kuan Yin. As I said, I was not looking for Kuan Yin. I felt that a friend was in crisis, called this person, and in the process of having a communication and a channel conversation, my friend began to cry. Kuan Yin stepped in through me and began to give him advice. He felt healed. Some incredible things came out of her. The next day, when I was doing my meditation, Kuan Yin came back to me and said, now we need to work on you and trying to heal you. And she started guiding me to go to that that wound with my father, to help me heal. The way I did this is that I began to, wherever you stand on that spectrum, I began to ask to forgive myself, for having made such a drastic move completely crazy, that it's the antithesis of everything that there is. So Kuan Yin said to me, no ascended master, not Master Jesus. Master Jesus embodied his desire to receive, because that's the only way he can bring the God energy anchored on earth to give to others, to create miracle for others. He's fully connected to it. All the ascended masters are. As long as they're embodied on earth, they're connected to their desire to receive. Because you have to create the magnet and the vessel to allow the spiritual high-level energy to precipitate. And if that vessel, that magnet is not there, it will be always around you. And Kuan Yin was very clear. You've created some masterful bridges over the years, and you've been able to manifest, but it's through bypass and bridge. You have not grounded it in you. You have not allowed it to flourish and to exist in here, because of your shame and your desire to push it out. And the more I forgive myself, the more I ask for it to return back into my body, the more it begins to connect back to me, the more I begin to feel better and better, and the greater the healing was. So quite accidentally last week at some point, I'm on the waterfront doing my morning connection and meditation. I'm going to quickly. Kuan Yin had guided me to go back to the Kuan Yin Heart Sutra, because the first step of the Heart Sutra is to ask yourself for forgiveness for all the pain and the suffering that the outside seemed to be projecting onto you. For example, my father, that was extremely abusive to me and my entire family, the same way Kuan Yin had a father who was very abusive to her, the way she achieved the status of becoming a bodhisattva. She realized when she went in meditation and isolation in Fragrance Island, that that father and that exists in her. It was an external mirror. And I've had the mirrors over the years. I never understood it. I pushed out my receiver, but I experienced in my life multiple individuals that were in my orbit that were so incredibly caught up in their desire to receive. Many of you have met this man, this Brazilian man that was a student of mine for about 3 years or 4 years. He was a crook. He could manifest anything he wanted through devious mean, by lie and deceit and everything else. But he was so and he was manifest not only money, but all kinds of experiences, traveling around the world, doing all kinds of things. And I witnessed this. He was literally the opposite, but a negative polarity of the opposite of the desire to receive. Not the way Jesus would manifest it, but a very negative way where it's in darkness. So, and I've experienced people, like I've said before, another man that I've met who could create anything that he wanted. He kept saying I told you, I thought he was an alien. He kept saying, money is easy. And I never understood what he meant by this, because I was in such disempowerment with my finances. Like he was doing a project, I need $500,000 in 2 weeks. He had it. It was just like this, not a problem. So what I'm saying is that I'm trying to. So Kuan Yin had asked me to go in and try to admit or trying to realize where the mirrors are. So giving all these people that were like very prominent with these, they were literally designed to receive manifest, positively or negatively, in my life. I went internal and tried to figure out what did I do wrong. Now, as far as my dad is concerned and the trauma, and this is the part that I want to share with you today. And I may have shared this before, but I want to emphasize this and highlight it in bold, capital, different font. I want to highlight this. One of the things that I had to do to begin to embody the Kuan Yin Heart Sutra is that I When I sat deeply with myself and I begin to ask for forgiveness to myself, and I begin to examine who my father was and my experience with him, I could have blamed him and said all this, but my father was an undiagnosed schizophrenic. As I sat with this information, I begin to realize that mental illness is a brain chemistry imbalance. As much as a monster that he is, if he was with the right medication and chemical, I would end up having a different childhood and a different experience. And since mental illness in general, to a degree or another, I have other family members that have that issue, whether they're bipolar or they have anger management issue or the kind of issue related to some sort of brain chemistry imbalance. I realized, and this is what Kuan Yin had to realize with her and her father, for all the abuse and everything else, she's realized that her father, it's by the grace of God that I am not my dad, that I don't have a brain chemistry imbalance, that I'm not like him, that I'm not a monster in this lifetime, that I'm not manifesting myself as a monster. It's by the grace of the divine. Because that possibility of that external expression also is rooted in me and existing me. And when that happened, I forgave my father and I began to heal. And I had acceptance for me, for my imperfection. And this is the way the deep, profound healing began to happen for me. Because whomever you're in, whether it's a relationship or whatever, there is an aspect of what they are doing that potentially exists inside of you. And if you can acknowledge this and heal it will propel you in a completely different state and awareness. I know this is the advanced class. This is adult conversation. It's adult things I'm asking you to do. But if you can do this, it will change everything for you. So here I am now. Last week, I'm sitting and I'm doing my meditation, and Kuan Yin then guided me to go over the entire sutra, and I'm going to go over it in a second with you. And she whispered a couple of days earlier. She whispered to me. It was really the way it happened. Again, it's drip by drip. Every time I achieve an awareness, it didn't happen in one sitting. I meditate every day. I pray every day, and every day there's a piece, another piece that comes in. So after enough of me recalling my receiver, all of a sudden she comes, I can hear her whisper in my ear and saying to me, there is a place where there are no desires, no desire to give, no desire to receive. And it is in that place that a higher level of enlightenment can occur. And then I heard Heart Sutra. So I went over the text in the Heart Sutra. And indeed, the Heart Sutra of Kuan Yin talks exactly about that. Now, before I get into this, because it's going to take us somewhere else, any questions, any comments about what I've said so far? All right, I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'm going to go over the Kuan Yin Heart Sutra. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I read some of it and I'll make commentaries, okay? O Sariputra, form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Form is the same as emptiness, and emptiness is the same as form. That which is form is empty, and that which is empty has form. So it is also with sensation and thoughts and activity and consciousness. O Sariputra, all things are empty. They are not born, they are not annihilated, they are not impure, they are not pure, they do not increase, they do not decrease. Therefore, O Sariputra, in emptiness, there is no form, no thoughts, no activity, no consciousness, no eyes, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no form, no sound, no color, no taste, no touch, no object, no element of hearing, no element of vision, no element of smelling, no element of tasting, no element of touching, no element of consciousness. And then she went on to say, all Buddha of the past, present, future depend on the prajna paramitra to attain the highest and perfect enlightenment. Therefore, one should know the prajna paramitra as the great mantra, the mantra of great wisdom, the highest mantra, the unequal mantra, the end of all suffering. The mantra is proclaimed in the prajna paramitra, O Buddha, going, gone to the other shore, always going on the other shore, always becoming the Buddha. I'm going to stop here and I'm going to explain a few things, and then I will proceed. So for those of you who've been with me for a while, you know that in the meditation I've guided you over the past 20-some years, there are moments where some of you have gone into this big volume. You've experienced the bubble. It's a big white space where you exist and there are no thoughts. Everything is completely still and there is complete silence. And it's very disorienting because there is no bottom, no front, no behind. It's disorienting. This is what she's referring to now. The highest form of enlightenment. It's non-attachment to everything. So she's talking to one of her disciples, Sariputra, and she's explaining the path for ultimate ascension. Form is emptiness, and emptiness is form. Form is the same as emptiness. Emptiness is the same as form. That which is form is empty, and that which is empty has form. And so it is also with sensation, thought, and activity and consciousness. So what she's saying now, she's describing a state of being in that awareness, where you're in that emptiness. Because at that moment, everything is gone. No thought, no idea, everything is literally wiped out. The only thing you know is that you exist and you're inside this giant volume. And that white volume is emptiness. It is not a blank place of a complete void and annihilation. That's not what it is. It's actually filled with stuff, but they are all potential. If you can think of the desire to receive and the desire to give as the first precipitate that begin to show up from this white volume. So in order for you and I to achieve our ascendance, we have to first repair our connection to that primordial duality so that we don't have any lens or any toxic projection onto any of them. Once that is clean, you can transcend it to a higher level and achieve this level of ascendance that she's talking about, where there are no eyes, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no form, no sound, no color, no taste, no touch, no object, no element of hearing, no element of vision, no element of smelling, no element of taste, no element of touching, no element of consciousness. You don't have consciousness as a singularity when you're in that space. You don't experience consciousness with the confine of a body. What you experience is universal consciousness, cosmic consciousness. It's immense, it's vast, it's infinite. And then she refers to in there about a special mantra called the Prajna Paramitra. And then in that mantra, she said it's the greatest of all mantra, the mantra of wisdom, the unequal mantra. And then she says here, "O Buddha, going on to the other shore, always going on the other shore, always becoming the Buddha." And I'm going to jump to what and here's the Prajna Paramitra mantra that's below here, where it says basically this. It's one line. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisattva. And it translates as this: gone, gone, gone over, gone fully over, awake, so it be, or it is done. So what all the Buddhas who have achieved the highest ascension, Gautama Buddha, the second Buddha, the third Buddha, all of the Buddhas, they have repeated this over and over again. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisattva. With the understanding that they're asking for all their attachments to this world to be gone, to go on the other shore, where the potential for all existence merge into one, where singularity of consciousness no longer exists, but you exist in a field, in an endless field of celestial consciousness. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisattva. Any questions, any comments about this?
Yeah, just to clarify, I was a little confused. You'd said that this is the place where we should address the healing or the corrections before that precipitate to the receiving and giving. And is this then the process to recite this mantra?
No, it's the reverse. Okay. You must repair your relationship to the giving and the receiving first before you do this.
Oh, I see.
Okay, it's the exact reverse.
Makes sense, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, you have to remove the toxic filters that exist first. In other words, you have to connect with the form and the blockages that you have created in all multiple lifetimes. That will help remove the karma and all the toxic stuff. If you try to bypass it and jump, because look, the best way I can put this to you, Janice, I have repeated this mantra over and over again. I'm going to share with you an experience that happened to me a week ago in the waterfall. I started reciting the mantra, gate, gate, paragate, etc. I don't know how many of them, after 10, 15 minutes, maybe 108, all of a sudden, everything around me changed. I had my eyes closed. I was inside this big bubble where there was a volume around me. It was not the white space. It was this big volume around me, but the words that I was repeating, when I said gate, it sounded like a thunderclap. There was power in it. Power, unbelievable power. I'm repeating the mantra silently, and in my perception, the field around me. And when I said gate, it was as if the edge of the field, of the bubble, was being punched, and there were ripples that were radiating out. Gate, and everything would go, but with every syllable, it was rippling out. I have never in my life had an experience like this. And I know for a fact, if I did not connect to my receiver, I would not have been able to activate, because what happened is that the mantra got activated for me. I would have never been able to activate it. It would have been just word, like I'm reciting a poem. At this moment, this mantra is not just a word for me. It has been activated in me, because I am now owning my receiver.
That's great. Yeah. So are you finished
No. I'm not. Every time you think you're finished, you realize that the journey has just begun.
Okay. So the activation, though, can happen while you're in progress up to, I
Sure,
don't
sure,
know.
sure. Absolutely, absolutely. It's not a waste and end up with a rope and then you cross it. And then when you think you're done, you realize it is actually the beginning. Okay? Because, let me stop this for a second and share this information with you. So what happened is that I'm now unpacking because it's a brand new territory for me. I don't remember this happened when I was in that state millions and billions of years ago. It's so long ago, I barely remembered it. So now I have to reacclimate myself to it. So now when I do healing for people, remote healing, during the healing, I'm repeating this because whatever their problem, whatever the problem and the condition that exists in them, that's disempowering them. All I have to ask of God, gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhisattva. In other words, gone, gone, gone over, gone fully over. Awake, it is done. Because now the words are resonating. They are vibrating for me. Because it's no longer a word, it's power. So what I'm saying is that I'm beginning to acclimate myself to the possibility of what that means for me. And for all the people in my circle of influence. And more to the point, for me, I'm beginning now to realize that at some point in the future, I need to revisit the Antara Sutra where I was working on the horizontal plane of the mandala. And at every point, let's say 12 o'clock, once I have done the proper connection as written in the sutra that I downloaded, that I channel, I need to resonate. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisattva. Because I need to remove any attachments that I may have to the Buddhas and the Dakinis in that space and move into what the Buddhists call dharmata, which is the true essence of being, which is to go at every direction of the clock, let my consciousness go into pure enlightenment. So I'm going to work first on the, I'm not there yet. I'm not ready, but I can already foresee and sense that these are going to be the next steps. I'm not ready. I have quite a bit of work to completely acclimate myself generally with the mantra. Then I need to take it to every corner of the mandala, the horizontal plane, and also the grand cross marriage, the vertical plane. And why do we do all of this? Because in order for us to navigate the white space, which is the ultimate enlightenment, we need to, it's our eyes. Carlos Castaneda in his teaching talked about this. He says, it's the focus of your eye, even in dreams, that direct where your consciousness goes. So all the Buddhists, all of the teachers of the, in all spiritual tradition, even in the shamanistic tradition, where your eyes go, guide where your consciousness is focused. Even with your eyes closed in meditation. Whether you're looking up at the sky or you're looking, to your left shoulder, your right shoulder, or you're looking behind you. And when I say looking behind you, I remember somebody getting confused. They think that they have to rotate their chair and look back. That's not what it is. You know how you sense that somebody's standing behind you? That kind of perception. So I can see a time where I need to go back and do it and add the Prajna Paramitra. But I'm not there yet. And ultimately, it will create a state where I have so surrendered into the emptiness, that true enlightenment, true ascension will be embodied in me. And that embodiment could not have happened, could not have occurred if my desire to receive was not healed. So what I'm saying to where you stand right now, healed the primordial duality. Heal your connection between the desire to give and the desire to receive in you. Because that's the step for me that was missing for a year. This is why I went to 5 years of turmoil, of all kinds of crazy experiences, because I couldn't figure out what was wrong. I knew something was wrong. And I'm a typical Capricorn, I'm very stubborn. I'm like, I don't know what it is, but I have to figure it out. Something is wrong. And by the grace of the Ascended Masters and the grace of the angels, I was able to figure it out. And I'm sharing with you because I know all of you are going to some form of struggle. So if you can heal and repair that primordial duality, it's going to catapult you into other things. Any questions or any comments that you may have? I know I've said a lot, okay? I've taken you around the world and back. And in all honesty, it will take you a while to unpack because these are huge and big pieces. Any part that you need clarification on, this is your time to ask me. And in what way does this connect to you and to your life? What part of this do you think that you need to work on? What part is this triggering for you that you think you have to proceed? Or if you're confused, you don't know where to begin, chime in, let me know.
Here, just a quick question. As I have been identifying the points of resistance, of disconnection to the receiver, to my receiver, the next step, forgiveness of self, ask forgiveness of the receiver, recognize that it's a mirror and what you've experienced exists within you. Have I got that part correct? And is there anything else missing?
I'll explain on that. Okay. So what I have done is that the first realization is that the receiver is not there. And so what I did is that I've guided you a couple of meditation to try to look where the receiver is. And so once you begin to connect and realize where the receiver is, you have to ask yourself for forgiveness to have done something so foolish. So that part is correct. And And also, it's funny because initially, when I heard Kuan Yin says, ask for forgiveness. And I was like, please forgive me, I love you, and I'm not go. And I repeated this for like 10 minutes, and I'm like, but who am I asking forgiveness to? And she responded back, she said, to yourself, because you're the one that did this. You did it to survive, but you're the one that did this. You have to ask yourself for forgiveness, because, you know, the desire to receive by itself, it's good to ask for forgiveness to the desire to receive, but the desire to receive does not need your forgiveness. You need to forgive yourself, because what you did is that you hurt yourself.
Mhm.
You know, and there's a big part that has to do with me saying to myself that that was a mistake. And because it was a mistake, I'm sorry. I'm forgiving myself for it. And more importantly, I realize that I'm not perfect. I'm broken. You know, the biggest problem that we have as people on the path of enlightenment, we have these very celestial high standard, and we think we should be perfect. And if we're not perfect, we flagellate ourselves. So part of that healing was to accept that I'm imperfect. I'm an overachiever, I'm a Capricorn, and it's a big deal for me to appear, you know, always in control. And to realize I'm not in control, I'm not in charge, and I'm actually broken, I'm imperfect. And as I do this and ask God and ask myself for forgiveness and saying, I'm acknowledging that I'm imperfect, all of a sudden there was this incredible, it's like I finally exhaled. And I gave room for the receiver to come in. And then I then asked the receiver to return back to my body. I began to feel it in certain part of it, whereas before it was completely missing and it was outside of me. And I began to feel it close to me and finally in my body. Now, depending on the kind of lens you projected onto it, because everybody is different. My lens was very specific to me. You're going to have to basically dialogue with yourself to figure out exactly, and I mean a dialogue, a real dialogue, not a monologue where I give you something to do and then you do it according to what I said, but listen to your body. How does your body respond when you ask yourself for forgiveness? How does your body respond when you begin to accept yourself as a broken person and imperfect? What happened to your internally and energetically inside of you? And then respond from there. Listen to what your body is trying to tell you. Because I'm not the healer. The healer is in you. I'm just giving you a broad outline. I'm just the cheerleader, the coach, the Sherpa, to use one of Monty's word for me. He used to call me the Sherpa all the time. So that's all I am. And as you converse back and forth with it, all of a sudden the path will become clearer and clearer for you. You will realize, oh my God, I feel so much better today because I've done this. And the next day I go back again, please forgive me, I love you, and I go and I'm accepting myself for being imperfect. It's okay if I'm not, you know. A lot of us had this very high perfection standard. It's okay if I'm not perfect. I'm accepting and more importantly, I am still loving myself for being imperfect. I'm still loving myself for being flawed. and that love. And the other part that really, really took me over the top, gratitude. I became grateful for the past 5 years and all the lesson and all the turbulence and all the ups and downs and the fears. And I became grateful to God for very similar to Job in his experience with all of the tribulation he went through. I became grateful for all the experiences, for everyone in my life. That gratitude is the antithesis of the primordial bread of shame. For those of us who are control-oriented, who are trying to be perfect all the time and do everything perfectly, and we have these kind of high standard, the more you try to be perfect on the outside world because you're trying to control, the more you do this, the less grateful you're going to be. The people who are more devotional, who surrender everything, are more likely to be more grateful more often than you who are constantly trying to manage everything around you. The gratitude was immense for me. Every experience, is positive or negative, is for my benefit. Everything that I've had is for my benefit. And I'm grateful to the universe and to God for having given me every one of them. And the more grateful I was, the closer the desire to receive came to me. It's something we can lose very quickly. It's not a natural state for many of us because of the original birth of shame. It's something we can use very quickly. So it's an ongoing process daily that I try to think of the things that I'm grateful for. And the more grateful I am, the more I can magnetize the receiver inside of me, and the more I'm repairing the connection between those two polarities of the primordial duality. Did that answer your question, Janice?
Yes, it did. Thank you, Kim.
You're welcome. Anybody else, any questions about any parts of this that's unclear? Now, what's going to happen is that, okay, it's not going to be as simple as I'm making it, okay? I'm giving you a summary. When you begin to do this and you're willing to go deep, memories and things of your past, like I've said to you, like this man had not, this Brazilian student had not thought about, all of these things come back. And it takes you a minute to process it. That's why it's a process, it's not an event. It's not something you can do in 2 hours and 3 hours and it's done. Because it took your entire life, or sometimes multiple lifetimes, to get to where you are with this right now. So it took a while because all of these other memories and all these other things started unpacking. There are epigenetic stuff that are connected to families. How my family related to receiving and giving and all that, my ancestors, all of that will come. And as it comes, you will be able to become more and more comfortable in your own skin. Let the teacher, the person who's doing the healing, is your inner and higher self. Let the process flow organically, the way your inner part are trying to guide you into it. Don't jump in to say, this is going to take 3 days. I have a lot of students who are very control-oriented. Well, I'm going to do this for a week, and then this is going to happen. This is not the way it works. A week could end up being 2 months or 3 months, and it's perfectly okay because you've done this for multiple lifetimes. And however long it takes you to really heal, you should take the time to heal. as these other memories and these other things, they're going to pop up. They even show up in my dreams. Like I have dreamed with my ancestors. I see them in my dream, my mom and aunts and grandmother, all these, they're coming in my dreams because I'm doing deep work. Now, the interesting thing to your ancestors is that as you do the repair, the one that are deceased and your entire lineage going back multiple generations, as you finally ascend and do all of this, you're actually giving them immunity protocol to heal them going back in the past. The person who's, because trauma and negative patterns are generally generational. And the person who stops it not only heals the people that comes after them, but they also heal the past.
And in some instances, liberate the whole family.
Yes. 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 Through that, you liberate everyone else. If there was a fact, and the funny thing is that as you're doing this, you begin to realize as you're talking to cousins and other people, you begin to realize that they somehow osmosis, they're getting it. If you're sensitive enough, you will begin to realize in conversation with them that somehow they're getting it.
Can I just make a comment of when you go in to the past, when this thing pop up, and they can be very difficult, and you have to walk through them in order to process and get out of it. For me, when this usually happens, what I try to do, I try to go through it and I catch the blessing in between what was happening. It was a trauma, it's a fact. But there are, within the trauma, there are blessings that are there also. So what I usually do, I usually, once I attach myself to the blessings, I found it a little bit easier for me to move on. So I'm just, it's another tool, because all of them have blessings in them also. It's not only the emotional part, it's not only, it's not the trauma, it's not, there are blessings in it. And while we're going through it, and we run with the emotion, we don't realize there were blessing in there, and you get stuck in that emotion for years to come. And it's not feasible. Thank God we're doing the work, and we're going back, and we're able to capture the blessings. And the blessings, that's what's going to make you move along. Okay? I just thought I'll say that. Thank you so much for listening.
Not a problem, Marjorie. And as a matter of fact, I want to piggyback on what you're saying because it's so important. The blessing you're talking about is to the trauma, as you said, you're inside an emotional bubble that resonate, and it's painful, etc. This is why Kuan Yin Heart Sutra is about going into the discomfort, going into the brokenness, and sitting with it, and allowing the pain to resonate, the difficulty, whatever it is that it's creating, sit with it. And if you sit long enough, the pain subside and you begin to realize there is another perception that you did not see. There is a reason for this. And in my instance with my dad, I realized that it is by the grace of God that I'm not him. Because I could have, if my brain chemistry could have been rewired the same way his was. Because that propensity exists in my family. And because of this, I realize how blessed, like Marjorie was saying, the blessing, how blessed I am for not being him. And it's by the grace and the mercy of God. So the moment that happened, that the whole experience got reframed for me. The pain subsided, the trauma, it was not the same experience anymore. Because one of the things when we're going through trauma that we keep asking ourselves, why? Why me? What did I do? Why? You're not going to get the why by just being emotional and boo-hoo and upset and so on and so on. You have to sit in meditation and be very quiet. And Marjorie is right. It's a minefield. That's why I'm saying to you that it's a natural process. Now, whilst you're going through this, if you feel overwhelmed, you need to talk to a friend or talk to me or talk to somebody else that can help you ground and help give you a hands up and pull you out slightly. Like I did, as I said, to 3 individuals about a month ago or more that were all suicidal. You need somebody to give you a reason to heal, a reason to be, a reason to exist. You need to find somebody that loves you and loves you unconditionally and that can tell you this and demonstrate the love, because you're going to go through a minefield. And as you go through this, because it is through the darkness that the light will shine. Like Joseph Campbell said, the cave that you're afraid to go in holds the treasure that you're seeking. And as you can go into that space and sit with the discomfort, slowly it will mutate and change and begin to give you a different perception where you're not blaming, but you're actually, this is why I said the key is to listen. Not just hearing, but to listen to yourself, because that higher part of you is tired of the trauma and the pain as well. It wants you to heal. The entire universe is conspiring all the time to restore balance and equilibrium. If you yield into that energy and that awareness, you're going to be healed. And all of a sudden, the experience becomes something else. You begin to discover that there was a higher purpose, that if you did not go through this X, Y, Z, you will not be the person you are today. You needed to, this is what Kuan Yin realized with that. If I didn't go through this, I would not end up being the Bodhisattva. As painful it was for her father to attempt to kill her multiple times, as she went through it, she finally realized it was actually ultimately for my benefit. Because look at where I am right now. I am now fully embodied into the emptiness, and I'm now a Bodhisattva. The blessings that Marjorie keep talking about, it's the gratitude. It's the gratitude for the experience, even the bad ones. It's the gratitude. Any other questions or comments that any of you may have? So Lydia, you've been very quiet. Any words from you?
This is funny because I just said I could just listen. I don't need to say anything because I'm thinking in songs. And when you were talking about the sitting and vocalizing and using the mantras, uh, this morning, like I said, I did not have audio, so I could not speak. And I also had a talk that I was supposed to do at 11 o'clock on compassion. And so I had all these things in mind. And so anyway, everything went just the way it was supposed to go. And after, my 11 o'clock talk, my daughter said, "Ma, you want to go for a ride?" I said, "Sure." And where does she take me? But to a Buddhist temple. And we go to the Buddhist temple. We have tea, and then we sit for the meditation. And they were very gracious, to us, and showed us, what we needed to do to participate, in the meditation service. And so I sat there and I did more of the mantra that, we were speaking of earlier this morning. And so I said to myself, I said, "Gee, this must be something that I need to really hone in on, that I'm getting all of this in one day." And so then, as I'm listening to this evening's class, and Marjorie and also Janice said something, I don't want to go back over everything they said, but it said something to also, start another train of thought with me. And as you're sharing your experiences, and I'm thinking, I said, we're all here in this earth schoolroom. We all have different uh, different parts of ourselves to be, perfected in this lifetime. Because if all of our karma was served up in one lifetime, we wouldn't be able to stand. So here we are. I could look at your life and say, "Oh, wow, this person is really flying through all of their tests and they're here and they're there." But I don't know what's on your paper. I don't know what questions are on your paper. I just know that you're in the same room with me, and we're all, at the task of becoming. And so as you were talking, I heard all these songs, and I heard for you, over how I got over. My soul looks back and wonder how I got over. Then I heard, I'm on my journey, Mount Zion, my journey now. I wouldn't take nothing for my journey now, because at each place you learn something at a deeper level than what you understood it as before. And so as we continue to go on, um, and I always refer to Bobby because I know she likes gospel. And I said, we have had so many songs along the way. And one of the songs said, "I know a place. There ain't nobody crying. I know a place. I, let me take you there." So I'm listening to everything that you're saying. And, in the end, in every one of these classes that we're doing, with each person, as they share their experience, it helps you to see something about your own, because it's really all about you. I could listen to everything that you went through, but if I don't apply these things to my life, then I don't get the fullness of what it is that I am here to do. So I'm sitting, I'm laying here listening to you, and I'm just thinking about how wonderful it is to have this kind of opportunity to listen to someone else's journey, because the crack that you're seeing in your own armor is where the light gets in and your splendor gets out. So I'm just, when you call my name, I was just saying to myself, well, you don't have to say nothing. You can just enjoy this all to yourself. I said, because you'd be rambling, and then you say, so Lydia. So this was my offering, and we're on this journey, and we wouldn't take nothing for this journey. Now, before we came into the flesh, there was a plan that we came with, and each person that's in your life, each person that was is good, or as you perceive it to be not such a good, each one of those things that was planned out for this to happen, so that you would be able to continue the journey and perfect those knotty areas, in within yourself. So I'm thankful for every one of you. And as we agreed, and if I have offended you in any way, shape, or form, then to everybody who's under the sound of my voice, I ask your forgiveness. I love you, and I let go so that we can all be that perfected ones and be those perfected humans that occupy that space that the heavens is already prepared for us. So, thank you.
Thank you, Lydia. Thank you so much for sharing. Indeed, and thank you for the songs. For me, the issue is that I am, as I share my story, and I'm realizing this, although I pray every day, the gratitude is the part that's the most elusive for me in my life. Because I'm trying to manage everything. And the more I try to manage, the less the less I'm surrendering, and it's a weird relationship, because I do surrender when I do pray for other people. That's the way the prayer goes out. But when it relates to me in the past, not now, in the past, because my receiver was not in me, I was not doing it for me. I was managing. It switched into something else. So I'm with that understanding, I'm hoping to also give you clarity. You're totally right, Lydia. It is in the minefield of trauma and of the emotion. And to the degree that you add more trauma and more emotion, your purpose must be big. And so if you go deeper, and again, if you know that these areas are minefield, before you go in, ask Kuan Yin to overlight you. Pray before you go in. Ask Master Jesus to protect you. Ask whomever angels that you're working with and guide to shield you, so that you don't unravel emotionally. And have a friend or a healer or a counselor on standby in the event that you sit in that space and it's too painful and you need to have somebody ground you and help you. But if you do this enough time, what's going to happen is that you will reach the bottom. And when you sit at the bottom of this, what was the way you perceived it when you were in the bubble of emotion and you're being completely reactive, you will understanding it from a proactive way, where you will see the wisdom of God. When Job was under attack by Satan, because God allows Satan to test him.
Mm-hmm.
God said to Job, to Satan, you can do anything you want, his life is in your hand, except do not take his life. He lost everything. He lost his house, he lost his 3 children, he lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the test for him was to remain grateful.
Mm-hmm.
and not renounce God and see that God gave everything, God can take anything away and still have faith through all the tribulation. And that's what I mean about the gratitude, is that the moment you add this to when you're trying to connect back to your receiver, suddenly it's gonna be a game changer for you. It's gonna be a game changer.
Know that to be true. Know that to be true. And for Janice, I think she has, had you already arrived, I just want to give her a little tidbit that was given to me by my great teacher. She said, the adversary is going to run this race with you right down to the wire. So there's no resting, no saying, okay, I've got it made. So I've already gone through this. I don't have to test it there again. Oh, no. Just as you said, the key word is faith. And so as long as you maintain that, you're not alone, and we have each other. We can call on one another. And that, again, means setting aside the pride, which comes in all kinds of grades, great pride, little pride, whatever it is. But if it comes under that category, set it aside and reach out. And you'll find that it will be an answer.
So Lydia, what you're saying is so true, because in this day and age, with everything else that's going on in the world, and so many people in crisis, where light workers are feeling that they don't belong on earth anymore because it's too tough, too difficult, and they become despondent, and they become suicidal. I had that experience with these three individuals, and I'm beginning to realize that there is no shame in asking for help.
That's right.
There is no shame. So if you need help, you need to shout out to somebody and say, I need help. And the help will come. And you say that if it's not somebody, to God, to the universe, God help me. And the help will be provided.
Can I just pop in and say thank you? Thank you all for sharing your parts of wisdom that is so enlightening. The more I learn, the more I know I don't know. But it points me in the right direction. In fact, I have to just share one thing about a revelation of work that I used to sing a great deal, Mahler's Third Symphony, the fourth movement, by the words of Friedrich Nietzsche, a great German philosopher, takes on such great meaning, greater meaning than ever it did. In the English translation says, "O man, take heed. What does the deep midnight say? I was asleep. I have awoken from deep dreams. The world is deep and deeper than the day imagined. Deep is its grief, joy, deeper still than heartache. Grief says, perish, but all joy seeks eternity, deep, deep eternity." All that we've been saying is reflected in them, in those words. And were I to sing it now, I don't know if it would sound any different, but it would be a very different meaning for me. I'm grateful.
That's profound, Janice. Could you email me this or text it to me? I would appreciate it. That's profound, not English translation. That's really profound.
Yes,
Yeah.
I certainly will.
Wow.
God always gives a song in the night season and all the day long. So there's something to encourage you to keep moving forward. And whatever you understand today, experience will give you a deeper meaning for it tomorrow. But keep moving. Just don't quit.
Janet?
Yes.
Yeah, I will suggest that you sing that song, because now that you get the understanding and it pop up the way it pop up for you,
Mm,
I would suggest that you sing that song.
mm,
You sing it, and I guarantee you something big is going. It's going. Something is going to shift for you.
mm. Oh, interesting. What a good song.
Yeah, the words are phenomenal, and I feel like if this pop up for you, this is something that you should sing. Even at your home, it doesn't have to be in front of an audience, but
No, I understand
yeah,
what you're saying.
yeah,
It's a personal journey of reflection on what impact it will now have.
yes, exactly.
Thank
All
you.
right,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome. Okay, bye bye.
Let us take a 5-minute break and then we'll do a closing meditation. 5 minutes. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other. And let your entire awareness emanate from your upper chest. Imagine that you're seeing the world from your upper chest. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And notice what you noticed. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. We ask the Bodhisattva of mercy, Kuan Yin, to overlight us with her compassion and her mercy. Now become aware of the resistance, the trauma, that are blocking you from accepting and grounding your desire to receive. Keep breathing deeply and slowly, and by the protection and grace of Kuan Yin, listen. Listen to the discomfort. As if the more than 50 trillion cells in your body had ears. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. Yes, there is fears and discomforts, but listen past the pain, past the discomfort, and let Kuan Yin illuminate you into the insights. Listen for the truth. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. What are the benefits that are hidden in this experience? What are the blessings? show me the healing path I ask for gratitude to rise in me and help me frame this experience with the lens of a learning and a benefit. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, Bodhisattva. Gati, Gati, Paragati, Parasamgati, 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 Bodhisattva. Gone, gone, gone over, gone fully over. Awake, it is done. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you, Pierre. I'm still unpacking that, and I will continue. My eyes are closed to the full meaning, but my heart is open to receiving.
Beautiful, Jonas. Beautiful. Beautiful. I want to thank all of you for listening to me tonight. If you're listening to us on Patreon, thank you for your support. On YouTube, like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and I will talk to you next week. Blessings to everyone. Love you all. Thank you. Bye, family. Love you.
I love you.
Bye. Good night, everyone.